Shishimada's divine grace, Mother Viskana Bhai Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shrimadakanda Vihari Ki Jagannath Shri Baladev Mahesabhadra Ki Shri Nathaji Shri Balagopal Ki Shri Shivarnitai Ki Nitai Go Prem God praise to the assembly God praise to the assembly all glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lord, Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
You need chai? Oh, okay. Yeah. I went to the library the other day and I forgot my glasses. I'm sitting here. I do this.
You ever saw that Twilight Zone where the bomb goes off and the guy, he was locked in the bank vault and then he comes out and everything's destroyed. But now he can finally read. He goes to the libraries, all these books piled up, and then boom, he drops his glasses.
Okay.
Breaks the glasses.
Oh, wow.
And his glasses were bottle cap. What can we do?
That ain't no fun going to the library without your glasses. That ain't no fun at all.
Yeah.
You can read some things, but other things, it's just like you strain it. You try to force yourself to do it. It worked a little bit, but not much.
Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Praishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 6. Is it?
13:6.
5?
Yes.
Okay.
6:5.
5 has a very short purport. Text 5. Pratu Jagmu Praharsena Pratya Jagmu Praharsena Pranam Tanva Ivagatam Pranam Tanva Ivagatam Abhisangamya Vidivat Abhisangamya Vidivat Parisvagam Badanai Vadanvai Parisvagam Badanvai Pratu Yagmu Pararsena Pratyu Jagmu Praharsena Pranam Tanva Ivagatam Pranam Tanva Ivagatam Abhisangam Yavidiva Abhisangam Yavidiva Parisambangabhavadai Parisavangabhavivadai. Please share. Pratyu Jagmu Praharsena Pranam Tanva Ivagatam Abhisangamya Vidivat Parishvanga Vibadanai
Pratyagamu Parashina
Pratya Jagmu Parashena
Paranam Tanva Ivagatam
Pranam Tanva Ivagatam
Abhisangamya Vidivat
Abhisangamya Vidivat
Parishvanga Vidivat
Parishvanga Vivadanai Pratyajagmu Pararsena Pranam Tatva Ibhagitam Abhisangamya Vidivat Parishvanga Vivadanai Prati,
Prati,
towards.
Ujagmu,
Went. Prahashena, with great delight. Pranam, life. Tanva, of the body. Eva, like. Agatam, return. Abasangamya, approaching. Vidivat, in due form. Parisbanga, embracing. Adivadhanai, by obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. With great delight they all approached him, as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces. Please repeat. With great delight, they all approached him, as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances, and welcomed each other with embraces. With great delight, they all approached him, as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces. Purport: in the absence of consciousness, the limbs of the body remain inactive. But when consciousness returns, limbs and senses become active, and existence itself becomes delightful. Vidura was so dear to the members of the Kaurava family that his long absence from the palace was comparable to inactivity. All of them were feeling acute separation from Vidura, and therefore his return to the palace was joyful for all. Om Jnana Shakarana Shalakaya Chatusumritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The palace was not the same without Vidura. And Vidura left in separation. They were feeling all this time that he had been gone. And we are being called to a great extent, the same way Vidura was called to separate from the company there, Dhritarashtra, Dronacharya, and all, Grandfather Bhishma even. When he left the kingdom, he was, actually we just read that Vidura is an incarnation of Yamaraj, who was cursed by a Muni, because the Muni had felt it was overwhelming for a young boy that he had previously been to have to suffer the punishments of hell by that he had committed against an ant. So Vidura then took the form, Yamaraj took the form of Vidura and lived a life relatively, because he was born from a Sudra mother, Sudrani. And what would be, born in that type of a situation, in that society, he would not have been looked upon as one to be looked for guidance or instructions or anything like that. But the Pandavas recognized the qualities of Vidura by his love for Krishna. And this is everything in the material universe, you can even see, is set into place according to the inhabitants' relationship to Krishna. So, I was meditating this morning. What was this I was thinking about this morning? See, we are entering a time now in which a fulfillment of prophecies that were spoken of thousands and thousands of years ago are going to be fulfilled. If anyone's familiar with what is being called the Hopi prophecies, they are saying that this is the year this is going to happen. So, this establishment of the Varna Ashram system that Srila Prabhupada gave instructions to his disciples at the time he was Jai Sajjada Kunjabiyada Jai Sajjada Baladev my blood Jai Sajjada
Jai Shri Guru.
Srila Prabhupada's instructions was that he had given that which would establish the Brahminical class of devotees, which was lacking in society. Because without the Brahminical class, the administration of laws not being done according to God's teachings, then are causing chaos in the world. And that which is being thought to be religious, in many cases is actually irreligious. And so people are engaging in activities without knowledge of what benefit they would derive if those activities were done in full knowledge. Just the act of eating, for example. People are shopping. They're shopping based on their own senses and their desire to please the senses of their physical bodies. Right? So they use the sense of smell, they use the sense of their eyes for their own pleasure, already enjoying what is not theirs to begin with, inspecting what they will get for their own purchases based on what will be to the satisfaction of their own physical senses.
Right.
If we are shopping for Krishna, we turn our attention towards the person we're buying for. So it doesn't change the quality of whatever is made available to us, but it changes the consciousness in which we are taking that which Mother Earth herself is providing. All the fruits of the world are being provided to the world by the Mother Earth, Mother Bhumi. And when her children take that fruit that she is offering and give it to her husband, Krishna, who takes the form of Mahavishnu. We don't offer to Mahavishnu, we offer to Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. Srila Prabhupada said, we are serving their lordship, Shrimati Radharani and Krishna, in the form of Lakshmi Narayan. So we establish a mood of awe and reverence that we know is not there in Vaikuntha. Well, no, the awe and reverence is there in Vaikuntha, but it's not there in Krishna Loka. Because in order to gain entrance to the very intimate place that only Krishna's intimate most devotees attain to, they first take on the regulative principles and the mood of service. And with that developed mood, eventually it turns into love. Because at first we do it out of responsibility, we do it out of what we feel is religious dharma, or that which is fulfilling to the ashram that we are in. But once relationship with Krishna is established, then that becomes the impetus for us to be doing everything that we're doing now. Because Krishna is our friend, we know we are getting personal instructions from Krishna through all of his associates. I wanted to read this morning from Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is available online. But Sanatana Goswami, in our morning prayers that we have been singing lately for the last 6 months or so, in remembrance of Lord Chaitanya's personal associates, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath, Mata Raghunath Das, and these Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, these personal associates of Lord Chaitanya have left writings by which they reveal to us aspects of our own philosophy that are not given by any other writers. And so very uniquely, Sanatana Goswami reveals in his many verses of Hari Bhakti Vilas that the practice of coming to the morning program every morning and singing the Mangalarti prayers offers the soul a certain amount of benefit by Krishna after this life, which Srila Prabhupada himself doesn't reveal in all of his writings. So it's very significant a contribution that Sanatana Goswami himself, as a personal associate of Lord Chaitanya. See, Lord Chaitanya, as I was explaining last class that I gave, most spiritual paths now on the planet are offering paths of spiritual beliefs and philosophy from a God they believe last had visitation with the earth 5,000 years ago, which we also hold at the time in which Krishna was here as well on the planet 5,000 years ago. For the most part, Christianity and Judaism are following that spoken by Moses and the instructions given by Moses as that having been given by God himself. But those instructions on how to slaughter the cow are contrary to the instructions given by Krishna. And Krishna comes for different purposes. Every time he comes for a specific purpose. So I was realizing this morning, because we've been saying, I have heard, and I have spoken it as well in class, that we are living the dream of Mahavishnu, because the laws of karma having emanated from him, he knows the end result of every living entity. He knows the history of every sibling, but not only is his dream, are we living his dream, but he is dreaming lucidly. Dreaming lucid means, and we can do that as well. If you dream a lucid dream, it means you know you're dreaming. This is an activity, actually, there's a group that I think originated right around the 1930s or so. I think it goes earlier than that. But they developed a method for being able to enter into the dream state. Mahavishnu is in a state of consciousness which is described as Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a state of consciousness, halfway conscious, halfway dreaming. For Mahavishnu, it's halfway dreaming. But being the controller of all, he is purposely creating that dream according to his laws. So see, people don't know it in the material world. They are being forced by the laws of God to live out the laws of karma that they accumulate by their day-to-day activities, and by carrying out the previous reactions that karma has forced them into, they create future reactions of karma that keep them bound to this material universe. And all of that cycle going around in a circle is itself proof of the perfection of Krishna's laws of karma. So if we could see the end result of every single living entity that has been brought into existence, into the material universe, we would see the perfection of Krishna's laws being carried out. So, recently, several devotees that I've been in close friendship with for many years have lost loved ones that have been very dear to them. I didn't feel the same separation that they felt because they were family members to them. Krishna, his feelings towards all of us is equal. His love towards all of us is equal. But it manifests, we are able to manifest according to the way that we see him. And his laws are a cause, a determining factor. That is the reason behind how we are manifest in this material world with certain abilities, certain opulences, certain limitations. And so we have a certain amount of breaths. That's what is so great about this Maha Mantra. Every moment spent in using the breath that we do have in creation of this Maha Mantra is not deducted from the amount of breaths we have been given in this life, which is given to us exactly pertinent to the laws that Krishna has established from the beginning of this universe having been put into existence. So the laws that existed before, and they were in the body of Krishna. So Krishna is himself the embodiment of law. Yudhishthira, as an expansion of Krishna's energy, like we are, much like we are, he is the embodiment of religion. And so we are seeing all of these inside perspectives on these very exalted personalities from somewhat of a removed position to be able to ourselves relate to them without being able to commit offenses personally towards them, but to develop consciousness towards them in a safe place to where we can come to appreciate everything about how Krishna is revealing God. We can see how Krishna is revealing everything about his relationships with all of his dearmost devotees from a somewhat removed perspective, and yet still let consciousness be in our heart the same way it could be as it was with those who were having that intimate most relationship with Krishna, because they're revealing Arjuna's revealing his innermost thoughts to Krishna on that battlefield, and here we are able ourselves to read it. We don't have to be on the battlefield to have heard it. In that battlefield, we would be exposed to so much danger, petulance, and in a place, in a position to be able to commit offensive. But here we are, in the comfort of our own homes, able to read and see inside the minds and thoughts of the most spiritually advanced people on the planet, what to speak of Krishna's own thoughts and mind, which he's revealing to Arjuna in that most glorious conversation they had right before this battle ensued. Much like Bhagavatam, the 30 volumes, it is this one discourse Krishna has with Arjuna, contains in it all the information needed for a soul. If they will remember Krishna playing the flute, like Krishna advises at the time of leaving the body, they will go right back to Krishna in that form, that eternal form he has most dear to himself, which he reveals to us. The thoughts of his mind, what is dear to him. Sanatana Goswami brings out this Hari Bhakti Vilas, how dear this sound of Krishna's name that you sing to him is to him. So much so that it sounds to Krishna as though he were playing his own flute. And that flute playing of Krishna is so dear when it is played by Krishna to all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They hear the sound. It's so encapsulating. It's so glorious to hear. They want to leave and find the source of that sound. They want to leave whatever they're doing, even if they're lying in bed with their husband. They want to leave and hear where that sound is coming from. This is how the Maha Mantra should be to us. When we're chanting Krishna's name, we should be getting that, like a sponge, that soul should be realizing that sponge's use is to absorb that name. Because it is that name, we are, the substance of that name is what we are as souls made of. It's not different from Krishna's body. And so to realize it produces this glorious experience of bliss. Everything about Krishna's various incarnations, thinking about them gives us realizations about Krishna. For example, the fact that Krishna came in 1486.
1486.
Yeah,
Chaitanya. Okay.
In the form of Lord Chaitanya. See, all of these practices that people are engaging in, according to instructions given by who they're saying God is, that he was giving mankind 5,000 years ago. Now, just by sense of reason, it comes to the mind that God would want to intercede with his people to understand their position with him. And this is what he does with Lord Chaitanya also. He comes and to reestablish in their minds that practice now that will be pleasing to him for us to take part now because of the changes that have taken place since 5,000 years. And that's what this Dharma is all about. Unique to any path, this Dharma. This Dharma is the activity the soul engaging in will come to know it, the reality of itself, the reality of the nature of itself, the reality of the substance of eternalness, the substance of God's love that is itself eternal, imperishable, empowering, and filling. It can be that which the sponge that we should be can absorb and then act upon. So if we're acting through our lives in that energy of Krishna, which is loving devotion, then we go out searching for whatever we're looking for. We're looking because we're looking to satisfy Krishna, not the senses of our physical bodies. And automatically the senses of our physical bodies become totally satisfied. Because if you're going out there looking for that which the Mother Bhumi, the earth, is herself providing, and it is her as well desire that all of her fruits be offered to her husband, to her most beloved, then she is of course going to abundantly pour forth that which her children can offer to the Supreme Person in the amount of what she sees as her abundance for mankind to be able to experience, which is above our own understanding what goodness is, what life is supposed to be filled with, what plenteousness is, what surety of strength of God is, what knowledge of God is, what a fulfillment and a satisfaction provided to the human being that is filled with love of God, with knowledge of God, with purpose of life. Because that is what God has come to give us. And most recently, now, He is updating mankind's instructions that, what do you call, a handbook of use. When you buy something from the store that you don't know completely how to use it, you get a handbook. So we get Bhagavatam, we get Bhagavad Gita, we get Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because life needs explanation of how to be lived. We need Krishna to explain to us how He wants us to live. And the human being that comes to the point of realizing that there is a God knows for certain that God has a better idea for all of us than we have for ourselves. This is just a simple form of common sense one would exercise if we are believing that God is all-powerful, God is all-knowing, God is all-loving, then certainly He has within His own desire. If He's giving us knowledge of the greatness that He is imparting to us that which is most precious to Him. And He does that in all of His incarnations. He does that in a way for all the living entities to be lifted up, to think like He thinks, to be lifted up to this state of consciousness where love for Him becomes the motivating factor of our lives. We live for love because of love, by love, in love, with love, for love. So how can we experience anything else but love? No. Then you will love what you're doing. You will love what part you play, what little part we may play, but still the experience it provides. Loving devotion is the consciousness to have, if you want peace of mind, loving towards the love itself. God is described as being love itself. So if we aim towards love, and love is telling us to aim towards itself, Aim your activities towards Krishna, and then you will find Krishna, and that which you find in Krishna to be with you, sharing this body with you that you are living in. You're covered over by a cloak of mucus, pus, and blood. It keeps you from being able to exhibit the real you. If you give yourself over to the forces of that mucus, pus, and blood, which is what the senses of the body are. If we want to be controlled by the senses of the body, let's analyze what value there is of these physical senses to be satisfied, as compared to the value of eternity, knowledge, and the bliss derived from knowing that eternalness. So, this is the difference between slaughtering an animal and loving an animal. How can you love something that's not having life? When we see people loving, they love their car,
The dog or the
they
cat.
love their house, the objects of this world, that value that we put in our minds upon these things takes away from the time we have to be able to concentrate on the highest experiences there are for the mind to be enveloped by. Love of God is available at every moment. But love of God means knowing the nature of God. And to know the nature of God, then we have to read God's Word, we have to study God's words, we have to hear God's words. So how do we hear God's Word? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. When we take to heart the singing of God's holy names as an activity and know that it has the ability to free us from the clutches, it frees us from the desires we have to somehow experience something with the physical senses and then experience consciousness. Because it's the mind that is enabling us to feel with the senses of the body, to see with the eyes, to hear with the ears, and to smell with the nose. All these gates of the city that the body is. And if we allow other than that, which is most favorable and desirable for pure consciousness to be experienced, we will get the result of that. So what we want is pure consciousness in its original state, which is what is being offered to us, that brings us freshness of life by knowing the origin of life and the state that it was in when all of this began, this whole universe, when it began, the eternalness and the length of time that Krishna and that we inside the body of Krishna had to be still the same. Eternity is now just as long as it was 5 million years ago, 5,000 years ago, 5 days ago.
Okay.
Eternity will be eternity forever and ever and ever and ever. Now, devotees, establishing relationships, we saw the unifying of two souls yesterday in a wedding. Some devotees saw, I didn't see. But this coming together of souls to be able to enable other souls to come into existence. In Krishna consciousness, this is meant to be as well part of this eternal, because we are eternal energy. Now, we have attachments that we have created in the physical world with souls who are minded physically into attracted by the physical energy of the material world. And those are temporary relationships. As we separate ourselves from those attachments, when we become connected with those that are of the eternal nature, that have realized that eternal nature, that have become connected with the source, that who Krishna is, then he keeps us together. We are feeding one another. So we will be fed as well when we leave. I was speaking with Braja the other day, and I made mention, when we see Srila Prabhupada, and we can tell him what's going on, he says, how will we know what Srila Prabhupada is like? What body he is in? If self-realization here in this material world gives us full knowledge of who we are, and knowledge that is the substance of the soul is that same substance of Krishna's body. Krishna is unlimitedly all-knowing, but we have access to that knowledge through knowing Krishna. And by knowing that, then, we are connected to that eternal relationship. So everybody that's connected in an eternal relationship knows everybody else. Everybody in the spiritual world knows Narada Muni as Narada Muni. They know Krishna and Balaram as Krishna and Balaram. They know Mother Yasoda as Mother Yasoda. These are eternal relationships established. So we are also establishing, by the connection we have through our Guru, we are becoming brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts. This is our real birth. Initiation into spiritual consciousness. When we recite, before reciting Bhagavatam, we reveal, I was born in the darkest of ignorance. Now we have been born into the light. Krishna consciousness, the initiation into the rebirthing that the soul is taking when it is initiated into the parampara, connection of the family of the parampara, then it is in full realization of that eternalness that it is the substance of. It is itself made of. So we have access to everything that Krishna is going to enable us to have access to, which is basically unlimited. Unlimited. All these abilities we read of all the devotees of the past, we are coming up to date with Lord Chaitanya's incarnation as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar for the age of Kali, to bring us the fulfillment of knowledge of God and what it means to be full of love of God. And by association of these subject matters with one another, then we develop that attachment to all of these principles that are built into the laws of God, and the appreciation that develops, because then we know everything is perfect as it is. Nothing has to be changed. Krishna's laws are already perfect. We can work with that and find what is more perfect by returning it to its original state. There is what is called heirloom seeds. You ever heard of heirloom seeds?
Yeah.
Heirloom seeds are a progression of the original seed that was given to humanity at the beginning of time. Those are heirloom seeds. They are a direct continuation of the pure form that seed was given in the beginning. Yeah. When they hybrid things, they mix one seed with another. They try to get one quality of one, the smoothness of the skin of a plum, and they try it and put it on the skin of a peach. So they take the branch of a plum and they graft it to the branch of a peach, and the fruit that comes out is nectarine. It has a smooth skin and a peachy flavor inside. So, problem is, try to plant those seeds, they're not producing that kind of fruit. It's like mixing a horse with a donkey. You have a very nice animal produced. He can live going a long time without as much water as a horse requires. And yet he has the strength of a horse. But he can't reproduce. So what is happening? We have fruit that we consider to be most excellent. Seedless. How in the world can you have seedless fruit?
I've never understood that.
It doesn't produce. And so we are eating the foods that don't have the ability to produce. These foods are sold, but they are taking away from their original form. And religion is doing the same thing to men's consciousness. Religion is taking away that understanding that was established at the beginning, and because of greed and lust, desire for control over other human beings, they add disbelief, they add that belief, and then they manipulate people with fear, indoctrinating them with subject matters that confuse the soul and that keep the soul from knowing the completeness of God's presence at every moment, the completeness of God's protection, the completeness of God's love in all of his laws, contained in all of his laws. Because in all of his laws, they're geared towards guiding the soul back to the spiritual world. When we see suffering and punishment administered, it's very difficult when we are ourselves going through it to realize that it's all meant to wake us up, to make us aware of the things that we have to make things right again. And that's what getting back to God means. And that's what the chanting of the Maha Mantra gives us abilities to do that we wouldn't otherwise have by the consciousness that is derived from involvement with the material energy, produces consciousness that keeps us more encapsulated and entrapped by the material energy. Whereas that consciousness derived by meditation on the Supreme Person, meditation on the activities involved in promoting knowledge of the Supreme Person, gives us a superior consciousness that relieves us of the anxieties produced by trying to satisfy. Because as long as we are trying to satisfy the senses of the physical body, we are automatically putting ourselves in a place of wantonness. The mind is saying, I need this. I want that. I gotta have this thing. This is lust. And when it's not satisfied, then we get frustrated. And after we get frustrated, we get angry and mad. We get angry and mad and we want to do some destruction to somebody. And that's what's happening in the physical world. Everybody is frustrated by their inability to experience what they are wanting to experience as pleasure and happiness. And they do not know what provides that. And that's what this chanting will bring to the soul that engages in it enough to find that out. Once you come to find out the relief that this chanting provides you, and then the taste you get from that, then you want to do that more and more and more and more and more, because it's an enlightening experience, but it produces a flavor unlike that anything that can be experienced in the material realm. So, and that's what these literatures are given to us to be able to become aware of and to be able to use our minds to the greatest extent possible for the purpose of being able to give others the ability to use their minds to the greatest extent possible, and their hearts and their bodies and their strength, their youthfulness, their healthfulness, to the promotion of spirituality to the extent that all humanity can be benefited by it. Not that we got to kill some here and kill some. No, give life to everyone. Let's be united in our giving of life to one another and feed one another with that consciousness that gives life, that gives hope, that promotes a unity in humankind, that will uplift the consciousness of human beings and bring us to a place of familial relationships with one another, so that we don't want to offend one another in any way, but we want to uplift one another and give one another an experience of love and hope and gratitude and appreciation that will give us the satisfaction with our relationships with one another that satisfy every need the mind has, the soul has, to be fulfilled as a human being. My prayer is that everyone will find the answers to all of their prayers above and beyond their greatest expectation. Anybody have any comments, any questions, any realizations? Sure. Shrimadbhagavatam, Shrimadbhagavatam, Shrimadbhagavatam.